Thank you so much for that.
I might add something. Many of our colleagues around the country, and we're hearing from individuals all over the country. In fact, some people outside of the country have contacted us. And one of the things that they refer to is that the way in which the Africana Studies and Research Center was established at Cornell University with the director combining an academic program with a research mission, they saw Cornell as valuing Africana Studies. And now they see Cornell with this proposed move. And we see it as a proposed move because we, of course, are resisting it. Mm-hmm. They see Cornell as now devaluing Africana Studies.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. So why now? Why have all of these issues come to a head all of a sudden? I mean, as a student, there were always issues. I mean, I don't want to give the illusion that, Cornell was a perfect place. I mean, I loved my experience there, and so did many of my friends and colleagues. But now it seems that all of the things that they were fighting to do when I was there, they decided to just do it now that we're gone, all at one time, in a devastating manner. What's going on?
Well, I think it's important to recognize the point you made. What made your experience what it was at Cornell was that we had these institutions. The Office of Minority Educational Affairs / COSEP. We had COSEP advisors in each of the colleges. We had the summer program for people coming in to introduce them. We had Minority Hosting Weekend. We had Ujamaa as a vibrant, active place for students, for intellectual as well as social life. And we had Wari House. These, and then we had our sister institutions like the Latino Living Center, which is a living and learning center, the American Indian Program, you see, and then the budding development of the Asian American Studies Program as well. These provided a sense that Cornell was a very special place, that it cared about this constituents, it cared about black students, it was concerned about Latino and other students as well. And it had one of the most forward-looking, progressive, institutionalized development of Africana Studies anywhere. Everyone said, if you can have Africana Studies developed like they are at Cornell, then it's possible for us. But more than that, the fact that Cornell's had this Africana Center was a beacon, was an inspiration that it treated it in a serious manner. Its role was institutionalized and legitimate, and everyone felt it was there, for the future. This made a real difference. Now, and so you had these elders, these black educators, administrators on campus that you knew were there, who were looking after the interest of young people like yourself coming. Who did the recruiting to see that you got to Cornell? Who was the people, who did the negotiation with the financial aid and admissions office to see the kind of packages were given so that people could afford to be there? This was the role of black educators and administrators. They had a voice. They could contend with white administrators who were making errors or were being culturally illiterate and being insensitive and what have you. And so I think this is so important for your audience to understand, for our alums to understand. They say, oh, well, things were nice. Yeah, because of the way they were. Now you see these reversals. I wouldn't have thought that I could have imagined we'd see the kinds of things taking place at Cornell now. But to your question, why? Well, if we all knew, we'd of course know how to have anticipated it. But it's not much different than you're seeing in other places in the society. There has always been a pushback, a backlash, as you will, against the progressive development for African people in America and others. And now we see some of that coming to fruition in this era of the rise of the right, of this fundamentalist groups, of these groups who are anti-equality, who talk about constitutional originalism and things of that sort. And we should not think that it is not present in the behavior at Cornell. The also using the fiscal crisis, the fiscal problem, as a pretext also now to reshape the amount of resources that will be available, I think is also important. Fiscal crises in America have always been resolved on the backs of black people and poor people. It's always those who get shoved out the door, who get neglected or have their resources withdrawn and redone. And then lastly, there is the view that black people should not have institutional bases, shouldn't have a niche in the institution from which they can have a platform to express their point of view and have some leverage in the university. The fact that we see what's happening coming from two rather conservative white men is not accidental.
May I just add here that Cornell is an Ivy League, but also it has that other side, the public side. And one argument they had advanced is that the Africana studies, the structure of the Africana studies is unusual, as if being unique means necessarily negative. And yet Cornell itself has a very unique situation of having a public side, an endowed side, and a public side. So this is the inconsistency in terms of the judgment and assessment. But the other thing I would like to add is Cornell is also supposed to be a land-grant institution, caring for service to the community. And this has been one of the important aspects of the Africana studies. To quote here the African-American scholar Sheila Walker, we don't have treat our people where we do our research as data plantation, where you go, you harvest your data, you go, you write your books with fancy titles and pictures on the cover and forget it. We are involved in the community. There is a dimension, a sense that we have a duty to contribute, to participate, to create linkages that enrich us and that also contribute to the community. And so this dimension is not understood or appreciated in an institution that is supposed to be a land-grant university. Because one of the subtexts in moving us to art and sciences is as if we go there, we're going to do rigorous scholarship and so forth. So this is another, and yet we do the rigorous scholarship in the Africana studies. We understand, although we don't use our people just to study them and live as if we don't have anything to do with the community. So these are some of the critical points. And in addition, with very few exceptions, such as Mwalimu Nanji, we all came from the so-called traditional disciplines, sociology, history, education. So we all graduated from the same institutions, same programs, that people in the art and sciences graduated from. So why in the world they would be more qualified to help us establish a PhD program?
It's very interesting when they put up the fiscal argument, and this is what they have couched this whole issue, that the Provost's office want to divest all the other responsibilities they have because they want to save money in that office. Okay, so if that's the question, you're talking about saving money, and at the same time, in your spin, you're saying that we are going to be put into the Arts and Sciences College, and then you're going to find us monies. So where are you going to find this money that you don't have? You want to divest on one side, and then you're going to tell us that you're going to give us more money, and you're saying you don't have money. So it doesn't flow. The argument does not flow at all. So that's why this whole thing is, there's intention, as Professor Turner has said, there's this element that is running. And we are now feeling it in the sense that as African peoples, that we have to be put a stop to us at a certain point.
Yes, very good point. We have a special guest with us that has, we've asked to actually call in. Dr. Alexander, are you there?
I am.
Okay, great. We have Dr. Leslie Alexander, who was a graduate student at Cornell University and earned her doctorate in history, as well as earned a minor in Africana Studies through the Africana Center. She's also a board member of the National Council for Black Studies. So I want to welcome her to the show, and I also wanted to have you talk a little bit about what the reaction has been from the National Council for Black Studies, and also if you can touch upon the petition. I know you helped create the petition that Mwali Munanji mentioned a little bit earlier.
Sure. Well, first, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share a few thoughts on your show. The response from the National Council for Black Studies has been overwhelmingly in support of the faculty members at the Africana Studies and Research Center, as well as supporting them in their fight to retain their current status. There was a letter drafted by the president of the National Council for Black Studies and received support from the board members as well. I'll just say really quickly a few of the main points that that the members of NCBS were most concerned about. The first has to do with the process by which this particular event and decision unfolded. And I actually think that the members of your panel have been tremendously modest and tremendously dignified in terms of their response to this, because the reality is that the way in which this decision was made and unveiled was unbelievably disrespectful towards faculty members who have literally dedicated their entire careers, decades of their lives, to building and sustaining and breathing life into the Africana Center at Cornell University. And one of the points that we were really trying to highlight in the letter that NCBS wrote to the president and the provost was just a very sort of fundamental point about the issue of faculty governance. The very idea that the provost or a president would make this kind of unilateral decision without any significant faculty consultation or discussion is just absolutely, it's really unimaginable in this kind of a university structure. And again, the fact that the provost would make this kind of decision in a complete violation of normal rules of faculty governance, I think demonstrates just a profound disrespect for the center and for its faculty. So that was really one of the profound concerns that NCBS had, was just the sort of disrespect of the process of normal faculty governance. The other issue, and I can talk in more detail about some of these if you like, but just very quickly, I think one of the other issues that that NCBS was very concerned about actually spoke to a point that a couple of the professors already made, and that deals with the way in which Africana studies at Cornell has really served as a model for other Africana studies programs, departments, institutes, whatever form they may take on other campuses. The Africana Studies and Research Center at Cornell has really served as a model towards which other departments and institutes and centers around the country have essentially been striving towards because of its sort of structure, its relationship and existence within the institution. They really have represented the sort of epitome of what other Black studies and Africana studies programs around the country have sought to create for themselves. And so in a way, the decision that Cornell has made in relation to the Africana Studies Center at Cornell sends a really ominous message to the rest of the Africana or Black studies community across the nation, sends the message that we are all going to end up in a situation where we are sort of at the mercy of the university and are going to be stuck in these colleges or stuck in these structural arrangements that don't really serve the best interest of Africana studies as a discipline. And just to very quickly give you a specific example of what I mean by that, I think that potentially one of the most troubling aspects beyond the financial issues that a number of people were already addressing, I think one of the real concerns about Africana's move to College of Arts and Sciences is the fact that the provost has made it very clear that he envisions future faculty hires in the Africana Center to be directly connected to faculty hires in other departments in the college. And what that would therefore mean is that future hiring of faculty members, as well as future promotion and tenure cases of faculty members in Africana, would all be to some degree dependent on or at the mercy of other traditional disciplines within the college. And there are very few other academic disciplines that are at the mercy of other departments to determine the legitimacy of their academic discipline in the way Africana would be.
And it's interesting because it's already clear that they don't understand Africana studies as a discipline. But in addition, there aren't that many faculty of color in those specializations such as history and sociology and psychology. I mean, we're not even present in those areas.
Right, I think that's right. And I actually also think that this is Cornell's attempt to sort of try to divert attention away from the fact that attempts to try to diversify the traditional disciplines in the College of Arts and Sciences have been embarrassingly unsuccessful. And so by placing the Africana Center within the college and using Africana and joint appointments with Africana as a way to diversify the faculty in the entire College of Arts and Sciences is a way of really removing the responsibility from traditional disciplines to diversify their own departments.
So now, where are we with the petition that you helped to create? How many people are there, and how, if people are interested in signing up, where do they go?
Okay, so we would really like to strongly encourage people to support us by signing the petition, and there is an online petition. It can be found at www.ipetitions.com/petition/save Africana.
Okay.
And I can repeat that again in just a moment. But when you arrive at that website, all you have to do is fill out a little bit of information at the bottom and hit sign petition, and you will be doing a tremendous service. At this point, we have actually close to 1,500 signatures of folks from all around the country, alumni, distinguished members of the Africana Studies and Research field, just basically friends and supporters, Cornell alumni, who have come together across the country to express their outrage over the provost's announcement. And just very quickly, again, for people who are interested in signing, they can find the website at www.ipetitions.com/petition/Save Africana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alexander. I'm glad you were able to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So now my question to you is, where do we go from here? Just so we're all clear and we're all on the same page, what do you want? And how do you want us to help you get it?
Well, we want the provost to rescind his decision. And we believe we're not unreasonable. Mm-hmm. We believe that there should have been a conversation before he made his announcement. Mm-hmm. And we think that he should have that conversation. He should rescind his decision. He should have that conversation with us. Mm-hmm. And we mean a conversation, mm-hmm. a give and take, back and forth, mm-hmm. not unilateral announcement.
Okay. Okay. Now, we do have some friends and alumni with us. Are there any questions or comments? We have enough time for one or two. Great. If you can introduce yourself and say what college you're from,
I'm
and what year you graduated.
Cornell Daphnis, class of '98, mm-hmm. School of Agriculture, Life Science. Okay. We're all grateful that you're here to give us critical analysis and proper context to this. This is something that many of the alum, we aren't fortunate enough to be on campus to learn about this, so we're grateful that the show is taking place. To follow up this, Dr. Leslie Alexander, there's a petition that we all will visit and sign. What can we do as alum? We're off campus, we're learning about this from a distance, but we are there with you in heart. We want to know what we can do to support Africana, to support students of color on the campus, and to support our legacy on the campus.
I think, Janelle, thank you for that. It's very important for you and others to contact your circle of alums, inform them, and first and foremost, as quickly as possible. I mean, even after you go out from this studio, to contact people, have them sign the petition. Also, we want to organize letter writing campaigns. You should sign the petition, then each person should sit down, take a half hour, 40 minutes, and write a letter showing your extreme concern to the president of the university, to the provost, and to the chairman of the board of trustees. We must have a deluge of letters coming in. And then those of you who can manage, we'd appreciate a small contribution to help us keep carrying this fight on. We have to use resources that are independent, obviously, so that if we could get all those who signed the petition to send $10, we'd be able to carry on the work that we have to do in reproducing the petition to newspaper advertisements and the like. That's so important. But also start this contact between yourself and your community of alums.
Mm-hmm. We have an account, Save ASRC, and if checks are made out to Save ASRC, they can be sent to the Africana Studies and Research Center at Cornell.
I would like to add, we have a major challenge that we need to address to make the administration realize that there was a major mistake made and we have to start from scratch. So we need all the support. But we need to look beyond. How come the Africana Studies, with all the work that has been done in 42 years now, there's no endowed chairs in the Africana. We work as hard. We produce. We excel. Well, our African culture make us be humble. But in the culture where we're operating, you need to show how much you have done. And when we show it, we measure up. How come in the Africana there is no endowed chair? How come someone like Professor Turner, he has dedicated his entire life. He was a student, literally, when he started. How come it has not been recognized? In meeting all the different missions of the university, teaching with excellence, classes that drew hundreds for years. What is the recognition of that? We publish the mission of service to the community. So the point I'm making is we have to deal with this immediate situation, but we need to look beyond.
It's a
How
broader
can we
issue.
look after the Africana, not only in time of crisis, but as a commitment, consistent commitment to build it, to request that the university, in raising fund to develop the university, that Africana Studies is not left out.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our panelists. If we can all give our panelists a hand. I'm so glad you were able to do this today. Thank you. Also remember, you also have a Facebook page, Save the Africana Center. So if you're on Facebook, please visit that page. You'll get regular updates on what's going on. You can see all the letters and the petitions and the articles that have been written in the Cornell Daily Sun, the Ithaca Journal, Ithaca Times, all the papers that are there. So you can keep up with what's going on there. Also remember, April 1st is coming up, and it's a very important date for several reasons. We have students, prospective students out there who are waiting to find out their acceptance status at many colleges and universities around the country, and many of you have applied to Cornell. So this is a particularly interesting topic for you and something of concern to you. So I'm sure you want to know what's going on and keep abreast of this as you're making your decisions as to where you're going to spend the next 4 years of your education. We also have alumni out there who have ballots that they need to submit for trustee. And trustees are important people on that campus. They determine a lot of the policies, or at least have a helping hand in some of the policies that are created there. So when you're determining who you're going to vote for a trustee, keep these issues in mind and make sure that the person that you vote for is interested in these issues along with other issues that affect you as alumni. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. So with that, thank you to our panelists, thank you to our studio audience and our viewers at home. Again, this show is dedicated to our African scholars, our ancestors in love and struggle. Thank you for tuning in to Crisis in Black Higher Education. Again, my name is Anika Daniels-Osaze. I'm your host, and I wish you a wonderful evening.
Yeah.